all Scott tonight.
This is the same presentation that we did at Community Council a week or so ago. There was some confusion about our overrides and such and what impact they would have on property taxes. And also right at that time, tax bills came out. And as it turned out, some people's property tax rate changed drastically while others didn't. And for some of those who did, there was a tendency to call out our override history or what we were doing over here at the district as a likely cause of that. So I just wanted to kind of show what was going on. And if you've looked at the handout that came along with that, I've added one line, and we'll get to that. Our primary allocation there, that very top line, I added together all the things that are subject to our primary tax levy. That's M&O, adjacent ways, capital outlay, that comes straight from the state. The second two lines are the things that we knew all along are going to be wholly funded by the local property tax ratepayers, bonds and overrides. I added that together. That's the total amount subject to a levy at all. And then for you guys, a little more advanced topic, the qualifying tax rate I've penciled in there. The qualifying tax rate is a number that's multiplied by our primary assessed valuation, and the product that you arrive at is the amount that the local property taxpayers are going to pay towards Creighton's budget. So as that number increases, that means less equalization, more property tax. To put it another way, less state aid, more local aid. Part of that figure, most of that figure comes from the state legislature. We do add to it for our Career Ladder program. As our Career Ladder program phases out, we're not going to reduce the part that's attributable to Career Ladder. So Career Ladder is no longer going to be a state-local partnership. It's going to be paid as part of the primary levy. So that's another little tweak that happened.
I'm sorry, Mr. Walmer, can you repeat that? So as Career Ladder is being phased out, what is happening with state funding versus local funding? Was there state funding or was it all local?
There was state funding. It was a ratio, and I can't tell exactly what it was, but let me read. This is from Education Coalition Legislative Update, and it said it pretty well, I believe. The Career Ladder phases out by 1/5 every year for 5 years. Set the qualifying tax rate as follows for the Career Ladder program. 10 cents, it was 10 cents, it was 2 cents per percentage that you had in Career Ladder. So we had 5% for Career Ladder. That meant our qualifying tax rate was increased by 10 cents. Or by the amount required to fund the authorized budget capacity for the fiscal year, whichever is less. So it stays at 10 cents until Career Ladder drops to a point where it's all funded by the property tax rate, and then it will be reduced.
But that is, in terms of state aid, it sounded initially like what I was catching was that the funding for Career Ladder was going to be there, but the money wasn't, and that money would go somewhere else. But I think I misheard that. It's an issue of the state funding is going.
The state is going to be less involved in the funding of Career Ladder, yeah, and they're going to be out of it, I think, within the end of the second year.
And is that resulting then in an increase of the burden to our local property tax?
Well, I'm not sure, because the Career Ladder total is dropping 20% each year. So I don't know where the break even is for that. It was just another thing that I thought worth mentioning. So even without the Career Ladder piece, you can see the increase in that qualifying tax rate, and that kind of explains the chart below, where I took the equalization amount, which represents state aid. That represents the state contribution towards our budget, as I've described it up top. So the state chipped in $30 million in the 9-10 school year and only $21 million in the 11-12 year. And that decrease is more rapid than our student decline and other of those reductions were. So the percentage of our budget that's handled by the local ratepayer has risen from 31% to 46%. And that really, in my opinion, is the biggest cause of increase in our local district. Why it was high in the north and not in the south, you know, there's more than one possible answer to that. It could be that the assessor got to the northern half and not the southern half. I don't know how that works, but how the value of your house changes relative to your neighbors obviously impacts a little bit, but you know, I don't think there shouldn't be too much of that. I don't know.
And yet that's, Mr. Walmer, what I've found in looking around and talking to people. My property taxes have dropped about 20% overall for Creighton, and that's, I think, also, yeah, Osborne seems to be the dividing line, and I'm sure that at least one other person who's probably got the same exact property assessment as I do has experienced that, but it seems like the further north we go, it tends to be the other way.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I would point out that people don't necessarily see on their property tax bill, because it's not equated, it doesn't tell people what it is, and it's not equated with the school on their property tax bill, but that is the state aid credit. Assuming that they are not renting out their home, they should be getting a state aid credit at the very bottom, which says it's the number that is the minus the negative number, and that's how much is being taken off because of our property tax, our primary property tax levy. There's a certain percentage, and it's been going up to account for some other shifts. So I think it's 40-something% of that is actually paid for by the state. So when people see an increase on that line for Creighton for our primary taxes, I think it would also be helpful to keep in mind that 40-something% of that increase is actually being picked up by the state, and you are seeing the negative number. Should be seeing the negative number also increasing down a few lines.
Yeah, I also got my tax bill, and it was interesting from last year to this year. Creighton School District, the amount went up.
Yeah, a lot.
Not a whole bunch.
We're
not, but it did go up. Phoenix Union went down, and the thing is, last year when we did float the 10%, we said it would stay the same. We didn't realize the difference would happen. It went up a couple, $300.
Well, the override renewal did not raise anyone's taxes. That
right.
You can see by my chart that the amount of money that the district takes and uses has declined in the last 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
And people's taxes have gone up for other reasons. But perception's everything, I understand.
Yeah. But an average person getting their tax bill, looking at Creighton Elementary, what it was last year and what it is this year.
Mm-hmm.
And if it goes up, they're going to blame the school, of course.
Well, the important thing is next year when they hear the word qualifying tax rate come from the legislature, that's important to them because that's going to drive your property taxes probably more than what we do.
Has the other board members heard comments from neighbors about their tax bill?
Everyone's tax bill is secret. I don't know. It's sitting there on the internet. Everyone's tax bill is on the county assessor's website, so it's possible to go and look at anyone's tax bill. But from what I have seen, the trend is really, and I have a couple of coworkers who live near me. One, the other side of Thomas, south of Thomas. The other one, north of Osborne, and in between Thomas and Osborne. And for those of us that were south of Osborne, it went down. And for my coworker who lived north, it went up. The other thing that I've noticed is that it did condos, I think, because they've taken a bigger hit, as some of us know, than single-family homes. Again, the budget pie, it doesn't necessarily change. It's how it gets sliced up every year. And if condos fall relative to other property, then what we pay goes down and everyone else's piece gets a little bit larger. And the same thing also happens between the business side of property taxes and the residential, because the business business real estate market tends to move somewhat separately from residential real estate, and that's what happened when we saw those 50% increases in 1 year in the value of our homes. Theoretically, if everyone's homes go up 50% in 1 year, everyone's taxes stay the same. But I think you saw that business values probably didn't, commercial property didn't go up quite that much, and so a lot of the business burden shifted to us.